Days for the NBA in China after fallout from Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey's tweet showing support for anti-government protesters in Hong Kong.
After event cancellations each of the last 2 days, the scheduled Nets-Lakers game in Shanghai is on. Rachel Nichols is courtside as the two teams prepare to play at the bottom of the hour.
Well, there were a lot of moments this week where it didn't look like we'd get here, but Elle, I'm happy to say I'm standing on a court where an actual basketball game is going to be played. I had several guys tell me they woke up unsure this would actually happen, but then they started to go through their game day routines. The Nets had a shoot around, the Lakers had a film session. I'm told that by the time they got on the bus to the way over here, there was actually genuine excitement. LeBron James and Anthony Davis like to sit across the aisle from each other on the Lakers bus, and tonight they were chatting just about getting to be able to hoop again. In fact, if there's any upside to how this week has gone, it's that both the Nets and the Lakers, who have a lot of new players on each squad, have really bonded with each other. Remember, they haven't been able to go out that much here in Shanghai for fear of the fan backlash. So there's been a lot of watching movies in hotel rooms, team dinners, and just the feeling of being in all of this together. As for the rest of tonight, well, you can expect a heavy dose of Chinese nationalism. Fans were being given free flags at the entrance to the arena here, so look for a sea of those when you watch the game highlights. And the Chinese government has also taken firm control of the media here. Officials stipulated to the NBA it does not want any players speaking publicly, and also mandated that Adam Silver cancel his planned pregame news conference. Oh, and one more thing. The court I'm standing on, relatively free of corporate logos. That's because most of the sponsors who were associated with this event have pulled out. Their logos had originally been painted on the hardwood here, which meant that workers had to spend time yesterday resanding the floors to make everything okay for tonight's game.
A lot of moving parts. It's a developing story, so we'll have the latest for you here on SportsCenter throughout the morning.
Game starts in about 20 minutes. When it does start, we'll have highlights throughout the morning here on SportsCenter. Still ahead, how Zion is doing his scoring so far, with the newest NBA standout to saying about his first trip to end.
This is your Golden State Warriors preview. I'm Kristen Ledlow. In June of 2019, the Warriors made a fifth straight trip to the NBA Finals, chasing that elusive three-peat. Days later, both Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson fell to season-ending injuries. Then, the team fell to the Toronto Raptors in 6 games. Weeks later, and hours into free agency, KD announced his intent to sign with the Brooklyn Nets. The Warriors then acquired D'Angelo Russell in a sign-and-trade. Here's Steve Kerr, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry on resetting after an eventful offseason.
The thing that our fans should look forward to is watching our team grow over the course of the year. You know, the last few years we've really had kind of a finished product, and maybe we've inserted a guy here and there. Last year we had DeMarcus Cousins entering the team at the midway point, so our fans got a chance to see the team unfold. But this is really a chance to see a bunch of young guys right from the beginning and watch them grow, watch them develop. And as we go, hopefully we can kind of blend them in with our veteran players and really develop into a good team. But we got a lot of work ahead of us.
It's the NBA. It'll be a little tougher on us than it's been in past years. You got to actually show up for all games now. But that's fun. That's, you know, as a competitor, you looking forward to that, and we'll enjoy it. But, you know, also understanding of not burning ourselves out too early, but I think we kind of got that down.
We have an opportunity to create excitement, to create a new brand of basketball with the same DNA of, you know, that championship mentality and attention to detail and the expectation. So it's a combination of both, being patient, but still, you know, relying on the DNA that we've built over these, you know, last 5-6 years, and starting fresh.
The Warriors have won 3 championships in 5 straight finals appearances since the 2014-15 season. They set a regular season record with 73 wins in 2016. They went 16-1 in the 2017 playoffs, but for the first time in a long time, the NBA's eventual champion feels anything but inevitable. We're here to discuss it. Welcome back into our NBA TV studios, joined now by our analysts, Greg Anthony, Brian Shaw. Guys, first and foremost, the lingering question surrounding the Warriors. Is the dynasty done for?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
And listen, there's no doubt that they won't be the favorites as they've been the past half decade. The expectations are lower. I think you even heard it in the comments from Steve Kerr and Steph and Draymond. But that championship DNA is still prevalent. Steph Curry and Draymond Green, future Hall of Famers, are still on that roster. And that culture is going to create an environment where they still expect to win basketball games. So they're going to be a good basketball team. They're going to be competitive. And until we see how the rest of the West plays out with all the transition that's occurred over this past offseason, I'm not ready to anoint anybody until we see some finished products.
All right.
I think the culture is still there. But I think what we know of the Warriors and this dynasty that they've built over the last 5 years, I think it is done. I mean, you lose KD, Clay's going to be gone for a significant part of the season. Andre Iguodala and his contributions that he made to the team, Sean Livingston and others, that's not going to be there anymore. So some of the guys that they are depending on haven't been there and haven't done that. So it's definitely going to be a different feel, but I don't think that it's going to be at the level that we've been accustomed to seeing there.
The reason why I don't know that the dynasty's over is generally when dynasties end, your best players have peaked and reached their prime, and now they're on the back nine, right? Steph Curry is smack dab in his prime. Draymond as well, and Clay. So those guys, I think still, this is a matter now, the real pressure, B and Kristen, is on the front office. Can you build that supporting cast back to the level that you had with your best players? Because that's what's going to be key. It's not whether or not Steph's good enough for Draymond or Clay. Can they provide that second push of guys that has to help this team get over the hump?
Because you so astutely observed, Steph won before KD was on the roster. He also won back-to-back MVP honors, the only unanimous MVP back in 2016. Do you think that we'll see Steph return to MVP form without KD on the roster and without Clay on the court?
I think we will. I think we'll see a high-level Steph Curry. But what I know as an opposing coach, they're going to throw everything they have at Steph and dare and make everybody else on that roster beat them. Draymond, we're cool with. Clay, when he comes back, Steph, we know what we're going to get from him. But can Steve Kerr transform this team into what they need to be in a different style of play than they played over the years, without having KD?
Do you think perhaps Steph could be in that MVP conversation again, GA?
Well, yeah, I think he's going to be in it. And in fairness, Steph's play hasn't dropped off.
Right, yeah.
It really
right.
hasn't. Sometimes you get MVP fatigue. We got it with LeBron when he won his fourth. I think you got it to a certain extent with Steph as well because KD is there. So, they're basically competing against each other in the minds of the voters for the MVP award. Now, though, the expectations for the team is lower, which means the opportunity to win an MVP is higher. Because now he comes in with a bit of an underdog mentality, as does this whole team. And sometimes that's the kind of motivation you need to get back. Because there's mental fatigue when you've gone to 5 consecutive finals. B has been in situations where, trust me, it takes a toll mentally. This could be what they need in terms of revitalizing those juices to be able to make another push. And again, I go back to the fact that there's so much uncertainty. Even though we got a lot of big name duos in that Western Conference, they haven't done anything together yet. So we don't know how all these teams are going to materialize.
And the other thing is with KD being gone, they sort of cannibalized each other in terms of the MVP talk when they were both teammates together. Now with KD being gone and that focus being on Steph, his play will elevate. And as Greg alluded to, it hasn't dropped off. But without KD being there, the attention and the focus will be on him, and he will come through. His numbers have been consistent over the last 5 years.
And you mentioned Draymond Green. He's told me countless times he will do anything that it takes to win, that he knows his role can change from game to game, and that he'll stuff the stat sheet in any category that's needed for his team. How do you think, GA, that he should approach the season ahead?
Well, I think he'll take more responsibility within the offense. He was much more of a secondary player. By that, I mean he wouldn't initiate the offense. He would be on the back end, and he's such a great playmaker that he was so effective because he's attacking weak side defense. Now I think you're going to see him initiate a little bit more. You saw the numbers. His offense got better, and I think that's the biggest area. His rebounding, defense, passing is going to be there. The question is, can he now become a legitimate third option offensively? Can he get 15, 16 points a night? because I think that's what's going to determine how good this team can be. They got all the other pieces. Steph's going to do his thing. Clay will eventually be back. But they're going to need him to be a little bit more impactful in terms of scoring the basketball.
Does that require a shift in mentality?
For sure. I think that his biggest change is going to be from a leadership perspective. Can he keep his emotions in check? Because he has some of these young guys and new players to this team that haven't been in this situation before with this kind of expectation and the culture that they have with this team. And so he's always going to do the intangible things. He's going to lead by example out there in the court. But their margin of error is going to be a lot smaller this year, shorter. And, you know, when at times they would get sloppy and they would turn the ball over and those type of things. Their execution is going to have to be so much better this year because that margin is lesser. That's where Draymond is really going to have to up his game in terms of leadership with this young team.
And I think Brian makes a great point about him being a little bit more in control of his emotions. And I think it actually gets easier because, again, there was so much pressure. They kind of all knew that team as presently constructed was going to be over. So sometimes when you want it so bad and you know that this might be that last hurrah, you know, it can get tense. It can get stressful. So I do think now, in a lot of ways, they're going to be at ease. They got the new arena. You know, those championships ain't never going away. Their legacy has been defined. This is kind of like they're playing with house money now. Yeah. And sometimes when you're in that role, the game can get easier for you because the expectations will be lower.
Well, when we come back, we're going to discuss the acquisition of